What's going on, everybody? We're coming at you today with another episode of Beyond Basecamp. And today we're lucky. We have Dylan from JunkU here, and he's going to talk about the power of the pivot. At Element Risk, we're all about insurance for the doers. He's a doer. He's going to show you how it's done.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Super excited to talk about the power of the pivot and help anybody listening if they want to take a pivot on themselves.
Here we go. So Dylan, you guys, it's been an incredible journey to be on with you guys. You are an entrepreneur through and through. You have been since the day I met you. So if you can give us a little bit of background, a quick background on how we got today. We want to talk a lot about pivoting because you've done that better than anyone. But how did you just get rolling in general?
Well, I mean, I think I've always wanted to do something on my own, and in college, I met my best friend and business partner, Steve, while working at a different junk removal company, and they weren't doing any moving, and we thought, man, this is something we could do better, right? And we just, I think, started like any kind of young, dumb entrepreneurs, which is what I was, and I think that's kind of the best way to do it, and said, hey, how can we do this right now? How can we do something better with what we have? I was 19 in college, and we literally printed out some flyers and started walking around where we live in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and just handing it out to. We knocked on doors at first, and then we said, oh, we got a little smarter and went to apartment complexes, and we started a moving company that was just labor because we had no money for trucks, we had no money for equipment, and we started handing out flyers saying, hey, we can help you move if you have a truck, and off we went. Wow,
very cool. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you went full boat on this right out of the gate, right?
So the first, 30 days I was still in school, but then after that, I dropped out. So I would say that's full boat. Yeah.
Wow, that's a big commitment. That's what it takes, Right. Like at some point, burn the boat, and we're doing this now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm always fascinated because you somehow talked Steve out of med school. Is that accurate?
Best sell I've ever done.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, he was a little older. He graduated that same spring, so it was the spring of 2016.
Wow.
And he decided, you know what, I'm going to go in this with you. So he did get a degree, but much to his parents' chagrin, he decided not to do med school. And
He's an entrepreneur instead of a doctor.
Yeah, I'm going to move with this goofball Dylan guy that you guys just met a year and a half ago, and we're still kicking. So it's worked out well for him.
Very, very cool. So when you started, you said you started with moving, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can, give us a little bit of perspective on how that went early on and where you started to evolve from the initial vision and kind of how that's brought you to today.
Sure. Yeah. So at first, we, like I said, we didn't have any money for trucks. Yeah. So we were just able to provide the labor. I didn't have any professional background outside of working at restaurants and the pool at home. So, we really were just doing everything totally on our own. So it started off really slow because we had no budget for marketing. And as we slowly built, we realized we did get some side jobs just to make sure we could pay our rents because things got tight. Because early on, we just didn't have a lot of business, which makes sense for two reasons. One, we didn't have a ton of sales skills or a network. Right. And two, we were doing the moving without any equipment. Like I said, no trucks. So most people want a truck when they're moving. So we had to not only get people to be interested in us, but say, hey,
it's a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, you're going to have to rent the truck. So it was a harder sell just even on average when we did get interest comparatively to when we were moving. But so that first kind of 6-9 months were really tough. We kind of battled our way. And then we stopped doing the side jobs because we had got a little bit of momentum, and we put together the money that we had. We had a third partner that came in at the time. Yeah. And he was a friend too, and we all put together like $500, and we bought this used truck, and off we went. Wow. And we started doing moving, and got more trucks, and built to the point where we got in 2021, where then we decided to make the shift actually out of moving, which was our second big pivot.
Yes, absolutely. So you decided to. Was that a clear hey, we're going to cut this off, or was it? Did the market show it to you, or did you look at it strategically and say, of all the time we're investing here, here, and here, this is what makes sense, this is what doesn't, and here's why? Or did the market almost demand the pivot?
It was a combination. Yeah, I would say there was a combination of the labor market. Okay. Post-COVID was a little bit different for us. It was making us make decisions, to your point, the market forced us to, that we weren't dying to make. We had to either sacrifice quality or be able to do the same service we were doing, if that makes sense. And we said that's just not something we're dying to do. And, you know, we have a deeper passion for just waste and junk removal in general. It's more of a happy service. So we decided, hey, we think we can make this work. You know, we had to change some systematic things, but we decided to cut the moving, partly, like I said, because of the labor change, and then also because we felt, truthfully, we just like it better.
Right, yeah.
That was a big portion as well.
Yeah.
Why we switched to going full-time junk, you know, at the beginning of 2022.
Right. I think that's been neat to watch you guys as you've evolved, and we'll get into some of the things that they're doing now, franchising, all these. I mean, it's amazing. But you've not been afraid to make strategic pivots, but you've also made hard pivots that needed to be made, and you know, rather than, you know, go down with any kind of ship or something, you were to say, hey, this part of it isn't working. We need to acknowledge it. We need to change it, and also use that for something that's positive later. Right. So, you know, that's been a really neat thing to watch for you guys. So as you started to move, you know, it started moving you, JunkU, if I remember correctly, right? Yeah. And then as you went and just started focusing on your core business unit, when did you realize that was, you know, the right thing for sure? Like, was there a lot of regret with that? Like, hey, we just got a lead on a moving job. Should we get back in? You know, that kind of stuff. How resolved were you when you started doing these changes that have put you where you are today?
I think, you know, we were, I would say, you're never 100% anything, but we were pretty much 99%. Of course, there's always regret because, I mean, we did have a solid business that we built up over the course of, you know, 5+ years.
Yeah.
So there was a network of people that we were not letting down, but certainly felt guilty about saying, I'm sorry, we can't provide this service. Yeah. And we have to, you know, maybe refer it out to someone else. So there was a tinge of regret in that, especially early. But to be honest, the more we did it, the more we enjoyed what we were doing because, like I said, we just really loved the core business, and we still do. We feel like that's just something that is not only more needed, but we just like the interactions with our customers and clients and in that space as opposed to moving. Truth be told, so we've had no long-term regret. Of course, like anything, I think in any pivot, you'd probably say, you know, I'm glad you said, oh, you haven't been scared. I have been scared.
Yeah, true, fair, good point, good point. Yeah,
so I'm glad you don't think I seem scared. Yeah, okay,
right.
Good. But it's, of course, and it is scary, and there's, you know, I wouldn't say regret, but of course there's apprehension, and early on there's more than as time progresses, and you know, you just kind of you stay disciplined to what you know makes sense, you know, because we knew we loved the junk side of it, so we were willing to, you know, push towards that and keep moving in that direction.
Yeah, that's good. We have clients that are just starting out. We have clients that have thousands of employees. I kind of jumped past those early days of you two flyering apartment complex, and so I'm thinking about you know, someone who might be watching that's in those early days, you know, 6 months in, you just decided to drop out of college to do this. If you can rewind back, like, what were some of the feelings you might have had there? Did any thoughts then of, oh my goodness, am I sure of this? Like, you brought up being scared about, like,
of
course. What might you think for somebody who's in that phase today? What would be an encouragement to them or a thought for them?
Well, I think the encouragement is, and it sounds cliche, but project yourself to 80. You're really going to regret the stuff that you did, or you're going to regret the things you didn't do. And that's what I always tried to do every single time, you know, and I was scared, and we were scared, and I had, you know, truth be told, I got it paid, but it was an eviction notice, and we figured it out. You know, we had to get jobs and do it. And I think it's combining. We always kind of worked out the worst case scenario, which was, okay, well, we can go back. I'm pretty sure Westchester University is still going to be there if in a year this doesn't work. Good point. You play that out and you say, you know, I'm not going to look back and go, wow, that didn't work and I failed and now I'm in college, but I would regret, you know, having never done it when I truly believed in my gut that it was possible and it was the right thing for me at the time.
Right.
So I think for somebody in that situation to just project out to 80, do you really think you're going to regret doing this? Because if you're doing it just because it sounds cool or you think you're just going to make a lot of money, that's probably a bad option. But if you really think this is how I want my future and how my destiny to be, like I want to shape that for myself, then you really can't lose. All you can lose is money, which is a lot. That's something, you know, but you know, I think that would be my advice to someone in that situation. That's
that's
what we
great.
thought when we had those conversations, And I was lucky that I had experience as a kid with parents who made pivots, and that's a benefit. So I think you can learn from seeing other people that have become successful and were scared in the same situation, knowing that it's okay for you to feel that way.
Right. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So then fast forwarding back, I just
Sure.
I didn't want to miss that. But fast forwarding back to where you start to focus on junk, things really start to take off.
Yep.
It's clearly been a good decision. Where did the idea of franchising, was that in your mind's eye at the beginning of all of this?
We
was
thought
that
about
the goal?
writing it on the flyer. Yeah, I know.
yeah,
No, it was.
We're a franchise. Yeah, for real?
Yes.
And what gave you a vision for that?
Sounded fun. To be
Wow.
honest, yeah, we just thought it would be fun, and we really liked not only entrepreneurship for us, but we just felt like it's something that should be shared. Genuinely, I mean,
Right.
seriously, we thought, wow, could you imagine not only people working with us and for us, but then people working for themselves underneath our brand,
Right.
And that was always the goal. And of course, there was the financial upside. That's exciting too, but really, just like, wow, imagine all the people we could bring in doing this thing that we think is fun and genuinely helps people,
Yeah.
especially on a day-to-day basis. You can see it. People are excited that whether it's you moved them or you actually hauled their junk out, they're actually they're excited when something happens. So yeah, we thought from the beginning that franchising would fit what we were doing. It did help that we worked for a franchise, so it it definitely
plants that seed, right?
Yeah, there was an inspiration in that aspect. But yeah, from day one we had said, wow, of course, a little more pipe dreams sitting around the dorm room.
Sure.
Saying
Sure.
that, but
Yep, been there.
yeah, no, we did. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we did genuinely, from the beginning mention it.
Right.
Of course, we had no idea what that even meant, but
Right.
we did
so
think about it.
perfect tee up right there is, I love that quote, Mike Tyson, everyone's got a plan until they get punched
Yeah.
in the mouth, right? So your business is going well. You pursue becoming a franchisor and bringing other franchisees in. What were some of the things that you, looking back, weren't prepared for? And how did you overcome those scenarios as they came up?
Well, one thing I would say is, and I've asked this to a lot of successful people, is what was it like for you transitioning in any stage of business from being the player to being the coach to really being a quote unquote owner, where you're managing the coach who manages the players. And it was a hard transition for us because you're used to saying, oh, if there's an issue, I can jump in and fix it.
Right.
Well, now you're just coaching someone on them being able to jump in and fix it. That's a whole different game than, being the person that, oh, if there's an issue, I can go talk to the client and fix it. Now, could I probably technically talk to clients if there's issues or go work and put boots on the ground if there's sales issues for franchisees?
Sure.
For sure. But that's really not the way to run a good franchise system. Your job is to coach them so they can do it themselves. And that's a hard transition. It was hard for us because we had been, literally in the weeds, and I mean that we were lifting the furniture at the beginning all the way till we did all the sales, till we managed all the movers, till I managed all the salespeople, to now saying, okay, well, I'm going to give somebody else the tools to do this and have to from afar help them do it. That was a big challenge for us to, lose that control and have to see what it's like for somebody else to kind of do it, still under our purview, but in their own vision.
Right. That's difficult, whether you're a franchisor or a business that's trying to grow. It's
hard.
That everybody struggles with that, letting go. And then, too, it seems, from what I gather, something I feel, there's almost a guilt to it, too. When you enjoy the work, not only do you don't want to be removed from it, but then also, too, this is insurance for the doers is our whole thing. Like, you want to be in doing it, not necessarily overseeing someone doing it, right? And so there's a challenge for that, and I think it comes from a good place, but at the end of the day, it seems to it can hold your team back, it can hold your business back if you're not willing to let it go.
Right. Well, and if I can double down on that, when things were not going well for me and Steve early on or at any point, he can see the effort I'm putting in, the mental energy I'm expending, and the focus that I have. My franchisees are not working with me every day. They don't know what my day-to-day looks like. They don't know if I'm just kicking back on a beach or, right? I can tell them, but it's different than, and, getting that same vibe of me being the leader. So being the leader from afar is a lot different than, being a leader in the building.
Right.
It's different,
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's harder. It's a different business. It's a different game. It's fun, but
Right.
it's different.
Have you been navigating that on your own, or have you had any mentors or anybody to help you kind of see what the challenges coming ahead and plan for them?
So no individual mentor, but every mentor. If that makes sense. I mean, we right away it was a hard transition for us. You know, just a lot. So yeah, I mean, my point being about every mentor is we've read every single book. We listen to every single franchise podcast from, whether it's a startup or someone that has 200 units, which for us is like our ultimate goal. So it's we just keep ingesting information from any source that we can get it. We don't have one singular person that we've worked with, but we definitely try to make sure we listen to people that have done it, because that's a common challenge. Because if you've built it, you probably built it like we did by hand. I mean, physically, literally lift the stuff.
Yes.
To then going from I'm just going to give you a playbook and support you, now you have to do it is it's so yeah, we have been getting mentors from or using kind of the collective mentorship.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's really good. And nowadays, all that's so available.
Yeah.
You can get a master's degree functionally from YouTube.
YouTube,
you know what I mean?
man,
if you invest the time, like anything else, you'll get out what you put into it. So recently, you made another massive pivot.
Right.
So if maybe a little self-serving, but fill us in on that. What's going on in your world right now?
Yeah, from moving you and JunkU to JunkU, and now we're JunkU and Dumpster You.
Yes, very
reason
nice.
being, there is, to your point, sometimes the market forces you, or maybe not forces you is the wrong word, but
reveals
nudges you.
itself.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. Yeah, reveals itself.
To
yeah,
you.
right.
Yeah.
When you're ready, right? The master reveals itself.
That's right.
And the market is always the masters, just so anyone knows.
I like that. The market's the master.
They really are, for sure, because you can't compete with the market. You got to go with it. You got to make sure you're on the trend. So, so we got Dumpster You because we had a lot of clients, referral clients, partners that were using us frequently, and just one-off clients that were cleaning out their house that said, man, I really like you, but your premium model, which JunkU is a premium junk removal model where we do full service. We come in, do everything, take it all out, donate, recycle, the whole 9 yards, which is great, but it's much more expensive than a standard removal model, which that is, we'll give you the dumpster, pick that up, but you got to do the work to decide what goes in and take it out. And a lot of our clients said, look, we're just not right now with the way the economy's going. Inflation's been tough on a lot of people, even, in great income areas, it's just tough. It just makes more sense for them to say, hey, we're going to do a lot of this work ourselves.
Right.
They said, hey, man, if you have dumpsters, let us know. Well, we didn't. So we decided and have now gotten dumpsters to deliver to our customers' houses that are a smaller footprint. So they're going to be they're shorter models, right? So they're still the same cubic yards, 10, 15, 20 cubic yards,
right?
But they're a smaller footprint for especially our residential customers that are in places like Philadelphia,
right?
Which are really tight streets, small corners, and they can't have giant, 20-foot long dumpsters.
Right.
Well, we can get the same amount of cubic space by having higher sidewalls and putting them down for them. So yeah, that's what led us to doing it. Is again, the market being the master is customers saying, hey, we'd love to use you, but you don't have all these options that I'm looking for. You're just one model doesn't fit my needs at this time. And we said, okay, well, let's do it. So we started doing it.
I love it because, like, thinking through what you're saying, you've never been afraid to figure it out.
Yeah.
You started. I'll figure it out. You did a lot of people be like, oh, franchising. There's so much that goes into. How could I be a franchisor? And would other people? You figured it out, and then you had a challenge of space and a market need, and you figured it out. And then that now is the competitive advantage in space.
Yeah.
And now you're the belle of the ball.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, unbelievable, man.
Well, I think that's a mindset that anyone can get into and tap into, saying just figuring it out. You know, just saying, hey, it's worth trying, because to your point, especially with all the resources you have now just at your fingertips, you probably can figure out at least part of it. Maybe you can't do everything, but there's a lot people can do, I think, if they just tried and they learned along the way. The proverbial entrepreneur building the airplane as they jump off the cliff, right? I think that's something, if you're looking to do this or you're currently struggling with it, it's not being afraid to do that, or actually being afraid but being willing to still try those things is a skill that actually you should work on developing. And I don't think it's natural for me. Right. I think I've learned it over time, and it's helped me, so far. So
do you and Steve, and the only reason Steve couldn't be here with us, they're phenomenal business partners. Had a death in the family, so hearts go out to them.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
do you and Steve perceive those things the same way? Do you look through the same lens, or do you pick each other up, like one's up and one's down, like, oh, this is that, and that's when the other one, like, what's your dynamic as you walk that road together?
Yeah, we're definitely on the same page. I'm just on the top and he's on the bottom. He's smart. He's like the person that definitely grounds me. I tend to be a little more push forward and go fast and break things. He tends to be say, okay, it's okay if we break some things, but let's not blow the whole place up.
Right.
So we are always on the same page, but he makes sure to keep
familiar.
me. Yeah. I've heard some dynamics. But I will say he tends to. And we've had such a great dynamic over the years that we've built where I tend to say something and he goes, okay, well, that's kind of crazy, but let me think about it.
Right.
And then he comes back and says, all right, well, 50% of what you said makes sense. 40% doesn't make any sense, but 10% is awesome.
Right.
So let me kind of work through these things and let's decide what the plan is. If that makes sense. I tend to push, and then he kind of says, okay, well, hold on, come back here and let's clear the way and make sure that we actually build it the right way, and then let's push again.
Right.
So we are on the same page, but we do have a great kind of, it's almost like a rock climber. You know, you have to have someone like belaying.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
So it's like I'm climbing up and he's belaying me, and then I usually fall and he's like, okay, and then I get back up and then he helps me. Yeah. You know, that's kind of like our dynamic, if that makes sense. That would be the best analogy.
That's a fantastic analogy. And I also love that you threw in very, very casually how 40% of what you say makes no sense at all.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like
yeah. He'd probably say different percentages. He might say like 90, but he's not here. So yeah.
Oh, that's good, man.
Right.
The with that too, you know, a lot of people are looking for that. A book you hear talked about all the time is Traction, Visionary and Integrator. And it sounds to me, would you say you're the visionary and he is the integrator? He's the one who says, hey, out of everything that was said, there's a nugget in there.
Yes.
And not only is that the nugget, but I will break that apart, apply the appropriate applications, and this is how we'll roll that out in A to Z steps.
Yeah, I would say that is definitely the case. I think like anything, of course, it's not 100%,
sure.
You know, but yes, I would say for the most part, that's a great kind of good analogy or representation of definitely how we've worked it out over the years, and it seems to work. You know, I mean, Steve can be a visionary and I can be an integrator in some aspects, but I certainly think it's our best decisions and best kind of overarching strategic moves have been when that's been the case.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's fantastic. What's kind of your vision for the future at this point?
Yeah, our goal is to have 200 units and be sold out across the United States and be the number one junk removal, so premium removal service and dumpster franchise in the country.
That's awesome, man.
Especially on the residential side. I think there's a deep need for top quality professional customer service in that space, and we're looking to serve it to people. Yeah,
that's awesome. I've always believed in you guys. I'll never forget what you said to me when I was like, these guys are great. It was something about, you know what it is?
Yeah.
Under the bridge. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it was incredible.
Course,
like I get chills thinking about it. I just knew these guys have what it takes to do this. And so when you say you're going to have the units across the country, I have the same thought right now. Yeah. These guys have what it takes to do this. The one thing though with the pivot, you know, that's been something we wanted to talk about, you know, as a theme throughout this. There's an interplay, I think, in entrepreneurship or any business owner. Persistence is really important, but what has been navigating that line where we need to know that it's done its course. We have been persistent. We've been faithful and diligent with it, but we need to pivot. What's the interplay of that been for you of being willing to let go and holding on for dear life at the exact same time, but just maybe in a different direction?
I mean, that's one of the daily conversations that we have.
Okay.
We always are evaluating every single day. I think that the big thing for us is to again kind of run out the worst case scenarios, and what I mean by that is set kind of deadlines in our mind of, okay, if we commit to this, which we're very good at sticking to our discipline, so making sure activities are because we can't always control the outcomes, but we can control our activities. We say, okay, we feel based on our experience and our, just intuition, if we complete these activities over the next, we like to kind of bracket stuff in 90 days to your traction analogy. That's what they like to do things, quarters.
Yes.
We say, okay, if we don't hit these numbers, we have to make a hard decision and decide if the reason we're not hitting that is because we need to change our activity, or if because, to your point, it's just not a viable situation and we have to totally reevaluate everything. So we like to just kind of block things and say, okay, if we don't hit our goal, we have to seriously evaluate, like totally changing course. And that usually means changing our activities, because we have, we've done pivots, we haven't sold the business or something like that. As drastic as that. But yeah, that's usually what we do, is we kind of block things in 90 days and every day we're kind of evaluating our activities. But in those 90-day increments, we say, all right, well, do we need to totally change our activities, or do we need to totally change our strategy, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's intensive every 90 days.
Yeah, but it's hard, right? And it's and some of them.
And you guys have had to navigate a lot of water, COVID. A lot of your business comes from the real estate industry, so changing interest rates and inventory issues, completely going from houses like flying all over the place to sitting a little bit and things like that. And you guys have navigated that externally with grace. I don't know.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
It's like anything. It's up and down, and always just kind of adjusting on the fly, and also just not being afraid to get it wrong. And I think knowing yourself, I think Steve and I tend to really agree with the persistence mindset, and we've tended to hold on longer than we probably should have, because we feel like that makes more sense if we can just hit on it longer.
Right. One more blow, that's going to split apart.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Which is a great mindset, but it can be wrong.
Right.
For sure. Right. I mean, sometimes you have to change the course. And to use an analogy, I think it's sometimes the best thing for your golf game is to not play. Right. So don't just keep swinging your swing. Sometimes you just got to take a break and then and come back and change course, not just keep going at it. Sometimes you just need a break from it, and it's the same for us. Sometimes it's just saying, all right, well, let's do something else. Let's not just keep making our dials, making our calls, keep doing whatever the case may be. Take a break and maybe try something else.
Yeah, that's good. And you don't hear that very often. You don't hear, it's such a good reminder that is to get a different perspective. Take a minute. Yeah. Take a beat. Yeah. And a lot of times, people who are grinding are like, just grind harder,
go more.
Right.
Right.
That's really that's a good word. I realized something. We jumped on the under the bridge, because you and I know what that means, but they do not know what that means. But anyway, it was something about signing a document or something, like, if we can't find you. And you made the comment like, well, if you can't find, like, I'm going to be under a bridge somewhere,
you said, are you all in? And I said, if it doesn't work,
you can come find me under a bridge.
Yeah. I think I said a bottle of whiskey.
Something like that.
Sounds about right. Point being that, I mean, and there's I think a real physiological effect to that too. Like, you genuinely, your whole being is, I have to do this, Now, quote unquote have to. It's like, is the world going to explode? Of course not. But when you cut off that plan B, it just focuses your total energy. It's like, you've had workouts where you're kind of doing it, but you're looking at your phone, and then you have workouts where you go for a run or whatever the activity may be for somebody. But when you're just all in and you just can't even think about anything else, you're better than those, kind of half in times. And it's really the case for the big life movements and decisions that I've done, particularly in business, when I just say, I have to do this, and I'm whatever it takes. If I got to do moves till 2 a.m., I've done longer than that, and that's the case. If I got to get up Saturday, Sunday, then because not only do I want it, but I'm all in, and this is kind of my everything. So let's make it work.
Right. I had a mentor of mine and said, goals don't matter. It's all about commitments. Yeah. What are you committed to? Forget goals. Like, it doesn't matter. Like that. It's almost like a physiological difference.
Right.
Like, I will do this. It's not, I hope to. If I
have to.
Yeah. So, but you've always done it. It's like, maybe we'll kind of land the plane a little bit on this. Yeah. You've always done it with great joy, even right there. Like, you've always been up. Like, I don't know if you just landed the biggest deal in the world or just got your teeth kicked in for a week. You always, where does that come from for you? What is that?
I think it probably comes from my parents, to be honest. I mean, we didn't. It's funny now. my dad has had success in business. He built his own business from scratch.
Yeah.
My mom has like 4 degrees or something. It's hard to keep count. You know what I mean? And has been successful as an administrator after being a teacher. And I think I learned it from kind of being a younger kid, and they were younger parents, and watching them build their life along with raise us. And they did it, I think, with grace.
Yeah.
They were happy as much as they could be. Sometimes it was sad because they were sad because things were really tough. But I think I have a benefit that, I didn't grow up perfect, and no one does, right? But I just think having been through some of those struggles as a family made me think, wow, and we made it out, and they made it out, and I can do the same thing, and that's why I feel like, you might as well enjoy the ride if you're gonna do it, you know what I mean? And that's kind of the happiness, as Steve has it tattooed. I wish he was here on his arm. The happiness is found in the pursuit.
Oh, wow, cool.
Kind of like what Thomas Jefferson said. Like,
said that to my daughter this week. That's unreal that you just said that.
It's the pursuit of happiness, right? It's the action of, finding it,
right,
and going about it, not just like, oh, when I get to the end, everything will be great, and I should be sad and mad until then. Again, there's plenty of times I'm sad and mad, but
sure.
To your point, I think I actually like what I'm doing, and that's why it's. Doing the worst case scenario was I'm definitely not going to regret at least trying this, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's why make the pivot, guys. Everybody, make the pivot.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool. And one thing I always try and make sure this is very practical for anybody listening or watching. Of all you guys have self-educated in an unbelievable way through this process. What would you say is something that, for you or for Steve, for both of you, whatever, was the most influential that someone could, a viewer could go and easily watch themselves, or a book they could, like, what has been just super influential for you guys that was self-sourced? Because that's something that you've tackled things. You bring in a team when you need to, and you also are attacking it on your, like, I love it. What's something that someone else could go if they wanted to kind of...
Do you mean like a something that they could go, like you said, read or look at?
A book to read, a podcast that to follow, a speech that you like, anything like that you go to over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, to keep in line with, I feel like there's a lot, but the first one that comes to mind to stay with the pivot has got to be the 6-step speech from Arnold. The guy had 3 careers.
Yeah.
And I think you talk about somebody who is willing to not only take the risk to come to the country, but to pivot from being a bodybuilder to being an actor to being a politician.
Right.
I mean, how many people have done one of those things? He's done 3.
Yep.
I think that's a great one. That would be one.
The 6-step speech.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll include a link to that.
That's a great one. And I think, that's just one example of, following, I think listening to people that inspire you. And I know that sounds cliche, but truthfully, like just listening to things that make you say, wow, I want to be like that person or similar to that person in my life,
Yes.
That would be the first one that I can think of, that I've listened to my whole life. There's a lot.
It's
out
been
there,
a consistent thing for you.
Yeah. I think he's a good kind of representation in terms of his career of pivoting.
Right. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Off topic, but are you watching his Netflix special right now?
I already watched it.
It's 3 chapters.
Yeah,
and
I already
3
watched all 3.
Yeah. There you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a joy having you.
Me.
Yeah. Good time as always. And if someone wanted to get a hold of you to find out more about franchise, if they're thinking about becoming a franchisor, if they are interested in the world of franchising and they don't know about franchisor, how would they get a hold of you?
Sure, yeah. Go to www.junk-u, that's the letter u.com. That's the best way to learn about our business, to learn about our franchise model. You'll also, through there, be able to get connected with me. My email's on there. I can talk to anybody, whether it's just about franchising or even entrepreneurship in general. Steve and I love to, we do some mentoring for, franchise brokers just for no cost, just because we like to talk to people about, helping others build their own business. So www.junk-u, the letter u.com is the best way. You'll get a bunch of resources from there, and you can find my email and information through the site.
All right, fantastic.
Yeah,
thanks.
awesome.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.